He brought another woman to the gala. Then the host said a name that stopped the room cold. Julian Whitmore, billionaire, admired, untouchable. Naomi Whitmore, his wife, quietly seated, completely ignored. He thought appearances were everything. He thought the spotlight belonged to him. What he didn't know was that the woman he hid had already built something far bigger than his image. Like this video and subscribe to Melanin Chronicles for stories like this. When the host called out the honored guest, every camera turned, and Julian realized the applause wasn't for him. Watch the full story on Melanin Chronicles and see what happens when the truth walks on stage unannounced.